Good morning, everybody. Michelle is here. Michelle is here on a Friday, February 20th, 2026. And I'm up pretty early because I have an early appointment, but there has been a series of things weighing on my mind. You know what I mean? And so I figure I'll do the best I can to say some things about certain things. So I may be a little, what do you call it? A little sloppy this morning because, the seriousness of, what I'm about to talk about. Okay. And I just want to send out my heartfelt concern, and I'm sorry. I'm saying all this to whom these sounds and tones are going to reach. Okay. Some of you probably say, okay, what the hell is she talking about now? But, as you know, I've been putting out several videos about consequences. Okay. And I kind of touched what I did is I attempted to touch on as many topics as possible. But again, you have to think for yourself. And you have to figure things out on your own. It doesn't make it, it only makes things worse for you if you are told everything. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is, and this is going to be a rambling video, by the way. So be ready. I may do it. I don't know. I'm going to attempt to do the best I can. Okay, I've done enough. Other people have been doing enough for not only hundreds of years, but thousands of years. And so here we are facing each other with the consequences of it all. And sadly, so many people miss opportunities because they didn't think what mattered 100 years, 200 years, 1,000 years, 1,000,000 years ago doesn't affect us now. Well, I'm telling you it does. And you have been told and you have been warned. Okay, so irregardless of that. So, and I know a lot of people are snapping out of it. Not just the innately inclined, meaning the ones that are supposed to snap out of it. There are other people who are snapping out of it too, because they understand the seriousness of what we're dealing with right now. Okay, and it's serious. And it's dangerous. And so what I'm going to attempt to do is reach those who are in the consequences. They know they're in a consequence. They know that they're in a cause and effect. They know that they're in the effects of things. And they are a part of that criminal negative energy. By proxy, by heritage, by ancestry, by pedigree, whatever it means to them, they are connected in that way. Religion, politics, more specifically, and especially because religion, and I told you religion has these tentacles. These tentacles are politics, these secret societies, these, of course, the so-called elites, the so-called privileged, the so-called, that nepotism of decades upon decades. The so-called living the finer things in life sort of crew, founders, business, so-called quote unquote billionaire boys club. I'm speaking to them right now, or some of them in that encasement of that criminal negative energy, because some of you have snapped out of it and you are experiencing the effects and the consequences, and you are sending out beacons of S.O.S. Okay, so what does S.O.S mean? Let's go back in and find out. you're sending out the SOS signal, and it's a Morse code distress signal. Okay, and that's literal, but more figuratively and metaphorically. It's a parable. Just see it that way. Don't see it as concrete, literal. It's figurative, metaphorically, parables. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so it says because it stands for save our ship. Okay, be creative and understand what that could mean, other than what it means. So that's what I mean by expanding your knowledge. If you are just stuck on SOS and believing you understand SOS can start standing for any. It can be an acronym for anything now, because everything's changing, and a lot of people a lot of people have lived their lives through acronyms, meaning they don't really and genuinely know the meaning of things. It's just trending. And so I remember in school, I think, in early elementary school, we were taught what was it called? I think it was called shorthand. All of us had to learn how to do shorthand. I don't know why that was taught, because it's irrelevant now. It's meaningless unless you have a collective of people that understand it. Okay, just follow where I'm going. So we used to write in shorthand, and I can remember doing that in elementary school. And I used to keep a diary back in the day. Oh, how weird. It's so weird. I see this it's symbolic symbols. Okay, wow, I can remember some of these symbols. It's weird when I look at it. Greg, the Alex Pickman, Graham, Lindsay, I don't know what all that means. But yeah, wow. And so those shorthand strokes would have powerful meaning or a way of contacting someone. Morse code. Okay? So, and a lot of people say, well, I cracked the Morse code. Yeah, I'm up so early. Child. Nah, but I couldn't sleep anyway because something was tapping me on the shoulders, figuratively, metaphorically, that I need to just discuss this. They say the Morse code is a form of telecommunications. It's a way people can get information out without it being known that information is being put out. Well, that doesn't work at all today, because, like I said, nobody remembers Nobody remembers the shorthand codes. I don't. And plus, we had to advance out of that, and we have. We now have, certain type of technology that does all that so-called, Morse code for us. And then also it became instead of being used for positive means of communication, it was used for war. Okay, war, and that's where we have been stagnant for thousands upon thousands of years in war. So that's why our secret military, or the dark military as it's called, have their tentacles. Yeah, that's part of that, religious tentacles too, military. So we got religious tentacles that is encased with politics, religion, military, and all the other things I've talked about. Gosh. Let's sip some coffee. I've said enough about a lot of things where, again, it's time to think for yourself and figure it out. And again, I'm talking to those who are in the consequences of things. They're feeling the effects of things, and they're kind of encased around and circling around that criminal negative energy. And you're like sending out an SOS, basically. That's what you're doing. So you're thinking of creative means to get a hold of, certain people, because you are in fear of your life. You're in fear of the lives of your children, and you're just in fear. Okay, you're just in fear. You won't admit it. You won't say that you're in fear. Okay, you don't have to. Okay, So what is fear? A lot of people have this issue with fear. Fear is an unpleasant or disturbing feeling caused by the presence or imminence of danger. So fear is not negative. Sorry, dry lips this morning. So it's not there's nothing negative about fear, having fear. In most cases, it's not even fear that a lot of people are demonstrating. It's coward. They're being a coward. Okay, and that's different. Okay, a lot of people think that being a coward, there's something noble about being a coward. No, it isn't. And it says here, one who shows ignoble fear in the face of danger or pain. A person who lacks courage, timid. Yeah. See, these meanings are meaningless. That doesn't say it at all. And it's giving credit to someone who supposedly, created we are using that. It says here, a person who lacks courage in facing dangers, difficulties, opposition, pain, a timid, easily intimidated person. I say it's more than that. It's actually more than that. It says here, I like this one as well. It says a coward is someone who lacks the courage to face dangers or challenges, often avoiding situations that require bravery. Okay? A coward is not brave at all. A coward is not a hero at all. Snap out of it. Get a grip. Okay? A coward is anything but brave. Okay? They are, it's probably as low as you can go. You know what I mean? Cowardice, it's a characteristic failure of character in the face of a challenge. A coward lacks bravery. Okay, so a hero is not a hero is not considered bravery. Some heroes are cowards because there's a backstory. When someone is considered a hero, there's a backstory to that. And in most cases, when you dive deeper, you realize that they were a coward. There was nothing brave about them. And that goes for the military, all ranks. Okay? And even some of those persons in military are living in the consequences and the dangers of it all. They understand that because of their cowardice, being a coward, they recognize that they've placed themselves at the pinnacle of not only failure and disappointment, despondency. It's a character flaw. It really is. But they are, because of their cowardness, they have placed the lives of millions, maybe billions of people at stake. Okay, because they are part of that those tentacles of the religious, criminal, negative energy, which, all right? So, now, and how contradicting it says a coward or cowardice is punishable by military law. You see the contradictions there. You're asking other cowards to discern other cowards. Okay? You're asking other cowards to discern other cowards. Same thing with law enforcement. Law enforcement is in those tentacles too. All forms of law enforcement. CIA, this dark energy, this criminal negative energy of law enforcement that if you think about the KKK, this other form of that law enforcement criminal negative energy, the contrast is, it's a lot to take on. It's a lot to swallow, so to speak. So we talked about fear, we talked about cowards, and Morse code, shorthand, and S.O.S. Someone said, the S.O.S. And, sadly, I have compassion for you. Those of you who are in the consequences of your complacency, your privilege, your pedigree, your ancestry. You felt as though you were the shit. You were above everybody else, and you were not necessarily in control of what was happening within the criminal negative energy, but you were part of it. You benefited from it. And that's why I'm so encouraged, because so many people are coming forward and speaking, even though a lot of things are being suppressed. But if you know how to discern properly, if you know how to discern properly, you can figure things out. That's what's great. That's what's great about it. So, yeah. So a lot of people do feel powerless. Yes. And especially if you're in the criminal net. Imagine this. Imagine this. You got yourself swirled in that criminal negative energy. You've been encased in it for as long as you've been aware. You may have been born into that kind of criminal negative energy. In other words, you were a child or descendant or related, and da 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 da. And remember what I've said over and over and over again. Media is in there too. Forgot about the tentacles. The media is in there too. Okay. And also, the media was part of this. It started with newspapers. It started in radio. Now it's of course on our cell phones and our laptops, and it's kind of filtered out like that. But media, as I've said this many times before, the media is complicit in this criminal negative energy, and how this criminal negative energy has enforced itself and encased itself. Okay. Now, but I'm reaching out to people who are, like they say, you were born that way. You know what I mean? You're in it. Your family was a part of this, for your ancestry, I should say, for decades upon decades upon decades. You became a part of that. And they always, and some people, they used to call them black sheeps, who kind of snap out of it. But a lot of them don't live to tell their stories. Okay? And that's why I say you have to be creative. Okay? And understand that you are in the consequences, and chances are you're not going to get out of it. Okay? But it is a sign of being courageous, and it is a sign of bravery to do everything you can to expose what's going on. Okay, whereas no one has to know. And that's where the creativity comes in. You have to do, you have to do the, it's just so much, so many people can do without affecting their consciousness development. They can't keep reaching in and trying to pull you out because you got yourself so encased in it because of the lure of materialism. Beautiful coats and diamond rings and the nice vehicles, nice houses, the best food, supposedly. And now you realize you're in danger. Some people in that criminal negative energy know that they're in danger because they know too much. Okay? So black sheep, it's an idiom that describes a member of a group who is different from the rest, especially a family member who does not fit in. So I know sometimes you can't control, when you're, especially in your development years, you cannot control necessarily, your environment per se. You have the parents that you have, or the guardians that you have. Whether you were raised by the religion, Catholics, Catholicism is what they call it, I guess. So you were raised in those type of environments where you were encased, you were isolated. And it's so funny here, it says they're describing the black sheep as a deviant. That's anything but. That's it. Most black sheeps are courageous. Okay, and you see what these dictionaries are starting to describe the courageousness of a human being by altering the meaning. So if you're not thinking for yourself, and you claim that you are a black sheep, well, most people see you as deviant, especially if they are in that encasement of criminal negative energy. Understand me? Follow along. I have plenty of other videos where this is described as I'm doing everything in my power to describe this so basic that even a child can pick it up. Even an adolescent can pick up what I'm talking about. But that's up to the guardian. Okay? The guardian is in control of that. In other words, self-education. You have to allow your children, your descendants, yourself to self-educate yourself. And see if you can get yourself out of that encasement of negativity, which is nothing more than how you're thinking, how you formulated your thoughts. Let's see what time. Yeah. Okay, so I want to say just that for now, because I don't want to keep this video going too long. But just keep in mind, okay, I know some of you are sending out SOS. But it's not about saving your ship, but that's a metaphor. And I understand that. And others who are innately aware, innately inclined are picking that up as well. I know they are. But again, that is not our responsibility to take on your responsibility, because we still have our responsibilities to evolve our consciousness. So just consider the things I just talked about. I'm going to go ahead and work on some other things before I have to go to an appointment. But trust me, I will be back.